Hey, there were two more posts that I wanted to read for my channel from Allismind, who is probably my favorite writer and thinker on Reddit in the manifestation and conscious creation reality area. And this again, a lot of this stuff is in the specific person area because I think that's where people get the most desperate and where they start contorting all these really high spiritual truths and things in order to, I don't know, get past the pain of not having somebody or the pain of having low self-worth and all that stuff. I just want to read these things. The first one's called Don't Create People. I'll link to Allismind's subreddit and these two posts below. But I wanted to just read these two because they're pretty good. Allismind is not, English is a second language, so if I stumble over some things here where I'm trying to sort of rearrange some of the English, sorry about that. You don't create people. Now this is a huge topic, but I will try to make this short. I have often said in my posts sentences such as, you make your world, for example. Later on I realized that people took it literally. They think that I said, you create Earth. This is of course not what I meant. I meant that you create your experience of the world. This means that everything in your experience is manifested by you. For example, all the global events that have nothing to do with your experience and all the countless events happening to billions of people are not created by you. In the same way that I said you create your world, I didn't mean that you created Earth. Neville saying everyone is you pushed out isn't something to take literally. The billions of people and countless other beings on Earth are not created by you. This is truly something you have to grasp. In fact, even if Neville or anyone said that, you should think for yourself, how could that be? Just think about it. There are so many different people in the world, so many young children dying, things happening to people, explosions, wars. On the other side, there's billionaires, inventors. How did you manifest that? How could Paris Hilton and Elon Musk both be part of you? They have nothing to do with your life. I could go on with examples forever. It's such a huge topic. Then what does the everyone is you pushed out mean? It means that in your experience, you get from already existing people the experience and qualities that correspond to your self-image and the beliefs and expectations you have of those people. Let's say you see me as bad and toxic. First of all, to be able to think that of me, I have to first exist. Otherwise, you couldn't think of me. Now, because my intuition will pick those negative vibes up you project, I will react to it consciously or not, based on my own beliefs and self-image, and based on your own self-image and beliefs. Which means that in that case, I will probably play with you and appear as bad and toxic as I can because it allows me to express my dark side, which I love to play with. Now, let's say you suddenly decide that in fact, I'm very kind and lovely. Again, my mind will see that change of attitude and will react to it in a different way. So I will play different cards with you. My mind will select different perceptions of you and act accordingly. Pause. I have talked to Allismind a lot on Reddit. And there is a perception by a lot of people, especially specific person people, that he is toxic and bad. I have never experienced him as anything other than kind and lovely and hilarious. I've talked to him a lot, and I've never, it's just evidence of what he's saying. Both of those versions are me, and you created none of it. You put yourself in a position where you get the specific version of already existing states and attitudes. The same applies to you. You can be very lovely in one moment and very rude in another. Often you are very different from person to person, and all of those are already part of you. No one else creates them. People treat you according to their perception and reaction to you. So it can get more complex, but you have the basics here. If you understand this concept correctly, you understand that people in your life reflect your self-image. So you will always focus on that first. Because based on your self-image, people make their own perception of you. And that version depends on their self-image and beliefs. If you see yourself as a victim, for example, you will trigger the abusing versions of others. And they will reflect that abuse the best they can. Some will do it much better than others. In the same way, you can see yourself as a victor. And in that case, as well, people will be triggered based on their own cards they have in their own hands. Which means in some cases they will play the victim, or it will create other contexts where you appear as the victor. This is just a basic example. In all cases, It's all about which state of mind you put yourself in and what self-image you have. People always react to that in their own way. So there's no point focusing on others or trying to change them because they are reactions to you. They exist on their own. But in your experience, they react to you and you to them. Knowing the law, you focus on changing yourself consciously because you change people you interact with automatically, and they have to play different cards, versions of themselves. In the same way that you are not the same with someone you consider worthless and someone you consider as a living God. The whole context changes and triggers extremely different reactions. Sorry for stumbling over parts of that. There were some words missing that I had to fill in. And then the other one I wanted to read was his follow-up to this, which was more specifically about the people who are trying to manifest a specific person. This, I think, is really important. If you're a specific person manifester, listen to this one. This is an articulation of my exact thoughts on it. Why do you need to feel that you create people? So today I reflected a lot on all the panic that I received in the comments and in messages. When I made the post, "You don't create people," many people just reacted negatively, downvoting, quoting theories about unity, etc. But those who were with good intent and seeking understanding sent me messages and asked a lot why I think so, etc. They wanted to know how I can think such an exotic thought that people exist without you. Almost all people who want to believe that they create people is, of course, the SP-focused crowd. After many received messages and questions, there is always one common thing in all of them. How can then my specific person love me if I don't create them? Now look at how desperate this is. Do you see what is behind it? Those people who want to believe that they create people are the people who think that the only way for them to be loved is that the other person is lifeless, powerless, and unable to think on its own. This shows you how low you consider yourself to be. They want the idea of them creating the others to be true because to them it is the only way to be loved. Without it, they don't believe that the SP would ever love them. They feel that they would have to control every single thought of the other person so that they can feel well and loved. Of course, the coaches reinforce that by telling them, you make the person, you decide what thoughts they think, etc. All of these toxic attitudes make the person completely obsessed by the other, and it creates the opposite effect. They become the shadow of themselves and completely at the mercy of the SP, because you no longer think for yourself, you're no longer focused on you or your life. You are wasting all of your energy. A person who truly feels like a god of their reality, with authentic confidence and self-love, doesn't need to believe that someone is lifeless and powerless to love them. They just know that the person is as powerful as them, a creator as them, existing on their own, and still believe that they can be loved and that they are. When you think and act from a self-image that is great and healthy, you don't need to micromanage your own thoughts, and certainly not those of someone else. Of course, you direct your mind and make sure you generate a positive self-image and positive beliefs, but you don't act like a needy ghost who feels the need to control every single act and thought of someone else. I know that you know how miserable that feels. If you feel that the only way to be loved is that you create and control the other person, and you spend your days trying to control what they think of you, this is not being a god. This is victimhood at its worst. You cannot be happy when you put such emphasis on someone else. If you make this attitude a habit, you will never be happy. Control is always motivated by fear, not by trust or faith. I said it and I say it again. You can have love. You can be loved even if you don't create people's lives. You can even change people's attitude. You can change a person. You can change your relationships for the better. No one denies that. But all of that is done by focusing on you and your self-image. You can even think of someone and see them differently. But this is not to be done in an extreme way where you forget that the change is about you. I don't have a lot to add to that because my entire channel is about this. It's been about the process that I've gone through to try to get a greater and greater self-image and to raise myself up. This has all been about me. So I really get this on a deep level. You can watch my channel, you can watch my videos, you can see what happens in my life. That's why I'm putting this channel up and being so transparent about things like, that I normally wouldn't talk about, just to kind of be an example. So I guess you can see if you think this approach is the one. Anyway, I'll stop this here, and I will link to Allismind. Allismind subreddit has a ton of great posts on it, and it's the place to start if you feel like you are ready to do work on yourself. There's a lot of good stuff there that at least will convince you that that's the way to go. So anyway, that's it. Have a great day, and I'll talk to you later.